made many efforts. Hi guys, it's Zebrun III again. I'm back with another amazing update. You guys are not going to believe this. That website I've been reading, that blog about that Asian guy that speaks with the aliens, he also converses with President Trump. Okay, I'm so excited. I gotta calm down a little bit. Okay. He said, before the election, I found fake ballots through the Soul Force medical show and told President Trump. And now, here's the letter, big enough so you guys can see it. You can see, White House, Washington, October 12th, 2020. Dear Mr. Kuwei, thank you for your email. My staff is closely reviewing your correspondence. Over the past few months, we have faced unprecedented challenges as a nation, but the resolve of our citizenry has never been stronger. And together we are launching the great American comeback. As president, I will continue working to advance our nation's interests both at home and abroad, and will always stand up for the American people. I will never stop fighting to uphold the American values that you and I both cherish. To learn more about the steps my administration is taking to rebuild our economy, keep the American people safe, and defend the rule of law, please visit whitehouse.gov. Thank you again for taking the time to write. May God bless you, and may He bless the United States of America. Sincerely, the boss, Donald J. Trump. What do you guys think of that? Oh my God. I've never seen anything like this on any other podcast in my life. It's absolutely amazing. So he says also that the ballot should have a definite number on every ballot. When they vote, they should enter the number. If it's wrong number or second time number, it's illegal. Like money, every piece of cash has a serial number on it. If the ballots have a number, it can't be copied. And what they did was they sent in copied ballots, which never should have been accepted. So, wow, it's amazing that he found the fake ballots before the election and alerted President Trump. That's just absolutely amazing. Wow. And here's Dr. Kuwei's blog. Aliens prove their existence to people on Earth. Since nuclear matter not only poses a threat to the people on Earth, but also jeopardizes the sun, as a nuclear explosion can resonate and ruin the sun, yet the people on Earth have taken zero action to annihilate nuclear weapons and shut down nuclear power plants. So the aliens decided to remove all of nuclear matter from Earth themselves. Wow. The original plan was that from July 2019, the aliens were to take away the concentrated nuclear matter and nuclear weapons and nuclear power plants. Consider that a sudden removal would cause electricity shortage and disruption for people on Earth, and that even if the concentrated matter gets taken away, the Earthlings would still be able to obtain it from the loose material. So the aliens decided to take away all the loose nuclear material, which was scattered all over the Earth first. This way, the Earthlings would no longer be able to make concentrated nuclear matter again. Excuse me. The removal of loose and scattered nuclear material began in 2019 and has now been completed. Wow, they work fast. When the time came to take away the nuclear matter from nuclear power plants, electronic flying saucers would first enter the power system and the communication system to cut off the power and communication like switches before the actual removal by big flying saucers. The aliens wanted to prove their existence to people on Earth before they work on the removal of the concentrated nuclear matter. In 2021, flying saucers frequently performed low-altitude flight demonstrations throughout the world, creating lots of so-called lenticular clouds or shelf clouds or UFO clouds. I saw them. I don't know if you guys saw them, but I saw them. If you watch Mr. MBB333 on YouTube, if that name is new to you, I will speak slower so you can write it down and go look this guy up. Mr. MBB333. He's constantly showing UFO videos, and it's absolutely amazing the amount of saucer flying going on around here. It's just insane if you ask me. I don't know why it isn't on everyone's lips. I mean, then he said, people on Earth cannot see flying saucers, but they can see the cloud formations surrounding the flying saucers due to their rotating motion. They also work in a team under and above waters to make the so-called water spouts. However, people on Earth always think that these are natural phenomena and rarely think that they are formed by flying saucers. While the Chinese culture has attributed water spouts to dragons and termed it dragons sucking up the water, tornadoes are also formed by flying saucers, but people never think they are related to aliens. Originally, these performances were regarded as the first step in their approach to taking away nuclear matter. The aliens wanted the Earth people to believe their existence through these performances first, and then their agenda to remove the nuclear matter so that the Earth people will be prepared in advance to use other energy sources such as oil and coal adequately in their electricity generation before the aliens carry out the removal of nuclear matter in nuclear power plants. But the Earth people have never realized it, not even remotely. Well, they could really help us by removing this evil. I believe they are helping, but if I was this guy, I'd be like, man, get these people out of here. They're not even people. For quite a while, the aliens and I have considered shaking up certain buildings, like the way the SEG building in Shenzhen was shaken by electronic flying saucers, and by using this way to let the Earth people know that their existence. However, the downside of this way is that people would have to repair the buildings afterward and still would not associate the events with aliens. Some people may wonder, why don't the aliens just go ahead and take away the nuclear matter directly? Why do they have to bother to prove their existence to the Earthlings? It's very easy for the aliens to take away the nuclear matter, but people on Earth would have to face dire consequences once it gets taken away. Lack of electricity will disrupt many lives. Likewise, X-ray and CT machines in hospitals all use nuclear matter. And once the nuclear matter gets removed, the hospitals would be disabled immediately. Needless to say, college courses such as nuclear physics and nuclear medicine will also disappear on Earth in the future. What the aliens are concerned about is a smooth transition for the Earth people. Yeah, that's what we want. Bring that on. We call the supernatural power that keeps the sun and the planets in operational order God. These aliens who work to maintain the sun and take away the Earth's nuclear matter, in reality, are our God. I don't know if I agree with that. The sun was ruined by the nuclear test on Earth, but the aliens did not blow up the Earth in return. Instead, they took the trouble to repair the sun again and again and made many efforts to enlighten the Earth people in hope that they would cooperate in the removal agenda of the nuclear matter. Well, if we had an open communication, people of Earth might know something, because who they're talking to ain't telling us. On September 10th, 2021, in the 4052nd case of Ling Pai, I told the aliens that we should take away the nuclear matter from nuclear power plants step by step. For example, we take away the nuclear matter from one reactor or unit in the nuclear power plant first. Due to the subsequent output decrease, people will resort back to oil or coal for electricity generation to make up for the decrease. Right after the Ling Pai, the aliens began to take away the nuclear matter from one unit at a time, and a certain amount of city power supply was caused. So suddenly, there were power outages all over the place. Scientists on Earth have mistaken warming up of the Earth caused by the sun's magnitude increase for the Earth's greenhouse effect and erroneously believed that burning of carbon will cause the Earth to heat up. Not only has there been no plan to reduce nuclear power, but instead restrictions were put upon the use of oil and coal or carbon emission. Politicians even put forward the goal of zero carbon emission, and we know why that's evil. Climate issues continue to be the battleground for political correctness. People of the Earth will not give up nuclear power as they have classified it as zero-emission clean energy, and there is great momentum for its development. We need to develop free energy. So the aliens have decided to make a giant step forward to move a sizable part of the Himalayan mountains to the South Pacific Ocean to build the island. It is something the Earthlings are completely incapable of doing at all. Only aliens can do it. This will prove that aliens do exist. Okay, I say go for it. Bring it on. Move a sizable part of the Himalayas to the Pacific Ocean to build ET-based island. The aliens and I, Kuwei Zhongzhen, Japanese pronunciation, Horio Tadamasa, have decided to move a sizable part of the Himalayan mountains to the Pacific Ocean to build an island and let Kuwei Zhongzhen be the owner of the island. It is planned to build 3 islands eventually. The first island will be formed by materials from the Himalayas. Hey, they can make me an island. I'll take one. The second island will use materials from other planets, which are different from that of the Earth. The third island will use state-of-the-art mediums in the universe, and when the Earth people get on the third island, they will be able to see entities in the 4th dimensional space. That's when we go to 5D, guys. So this is starting to sound pretty good to me. I hope you're enjoying it. My father had this thing where he was constantly saying, I wish I had my own private island. And I guess we are going to get one. Unlike the discovery of a new island in human history where the first person who made the discovery could claim ownership of it, this time, however, it is a proactive action from the aliens and me to jointly build an island using ET Force, and I, Kuwei Zhongzhen, will be the owner of the island. Alien technologies will be put on display to let people know the existence of aliens and to correct many misconceptions that the Earth people will have about the aliens. The major goal in building the island is to make people voluntarily give up nuclear power and adequately use oil or coal for electricity generation. Once the proper capacity for power generation is secured, aliens will remove all nuclear matter on the Earth. Building the island is an intermediate step in this process, and we wouldn't need nuclear stuff for medicine either if we had med beds. I doubt if those are nuclear. Deep in the bottom of the Yangtze and Yellow Rivers, step 1. 2, scrape the snow and ice off the upper part of the Himalayas. 3, cut the mountains horizontally to make them fit with the seabed of the South Pacific Ocean. 4, adjust the seawater to keep the sea level unchanged. Sounds like a big job to me. October and November of 2021 were different for the Himalayas compared to the previous years in a way that there's almost no snow in the upper part of the mountains, but there's snow in the lower part. This is because the aliens had deliberately exposed the upper part that was to be moved. On November 9, 2021, in a CNN World Report, NASA has found that there was almost no snow on the Himalayas and has attributed this to climate change. During this period of time, videos were uploaded to my YouTube channel every day in which I talked about the progress of the move, some difficulties we encountered, and new adjustments we made to resolve the issues. Plan A of the move was to use a huge cable car with 2 parallel cables and a pair of towers, like the towers in a cable-stayed bridge midway to lift the weight. Plan B was to move the mountains with a big flying saucer. Because the mountains are extremely heavy If Plan A was to be used, it would exert mega pressure upon the towers and may break the crust underneath. If Plan B was to be used, the flying saucer would stir up super wind on the ground. On November 13th, 2021, in the 444,176 case of wind pie, I propose to cut the mountains vertically into 10 or 20 smaller pieces for transportation. This way it would have a smaller pressure on the towers and would prevent them from breaking the crust or prevent the flying saucer from stirring up strong winds. On November 14th, in the 4,181st case of wind pie, I propose to let down a rope from a flying saucer very high above to pull up the towers. This way it could alleviate stress upon the towers and the crust, and there would be no strong wind, and there would be no need to cut the mountains into 10 or 20 smaller pieces either. In short, the aliens and I consult each other every step of the way as we move forward. The island is temporarily named ET Base Island, which is jointly owned by the aliens and me. Kuwei Zhongzhen, and I am the sole owner of the island in this third dimensional space on Earth. Subjects strictly prohibited on my island are as follows: the development and utilization of nuclear energy, embryo and genetic research, human and animal cloning, and vaccination. Limited artificial intelligence. Research is allowed, which means AI cannot be too smart to avoid the soul grabbing of people and animals by AI. The islanders are pure vegetarians, and the killing of animals and people and abortion are strictly prohibited. I'm down with that. It is also strictly forbidden to produce space junk or fly out of the Earth, as well as landing on the moon and mining the moon. It is strictly forbidden to spread false history. Honoring and commemorating ancestors is encouraged on the island. That sounds like nirvana to me. After the mountains are moved and the islands are built, all nuclear matter on the Earth will be removed. The working principle of nuclear matter. This is the subject that's the most difficult to understand. Nuclear matter works in a way across time and space. The yin and the yang worlds, which is a veil apparently, but it still obeys the law of the conservation of energy. It's just that it borrows energy, the debt from the spirit world, and uses it up first. Then the radioactive particles released in an explosion will absorb other energy to pay off the debt. You know, this is interesting because I have heard there is some kind of debt when you remove energy and use it. It's some kind of karma thing or something. I'm not sure. The key point here is that it can borrow energy from the surrounding environment, thus becoming negative energy in its real sense. The explosion uses it all up in one blow and releases it, sending countless tiny small particles in all directions to absorb energy elsewhere and return it to the large matter. With the yin and yang realms combined, there is no extra energy that can be found. One characteristic of nuclear matter is that a large piece automatically absorbs the energy from a smaller piece, and when the nuclear matter reaches a certain extent, it will automatically explode. Therefore, it's very simple for a nuclear explosion to occur. This is why the alien flying saucers have kept coming to Area 51 to take away the nuclear matter, not to let it get big enough. All the tiny small pieces that get blown out in an explosion are connected with the large piece by thin filaments. Radioactive pollutants that float out in the air are all connected to the larger matter through thin filaments that are invisible to people's eyes. This is like a fishing hook that's connected to a fishing rod through a line. The hooks of radioactive pollutants will suck up the energy of whatever they hook up and transfer the energy to the big matter, the rod, through the threads. Wow. When radioactive pollutants land on people, they will suck up energy from the body and send it to the large matter, even thousands of miles away. Wow! The body will then get depleted of energy and soon die out. When radioactive pollutants fall on the ground, they will absorb the energy from the land and transfer it to the large matter through the thin threads. The land will then lose energy and become poor and barren. Now when you look at some real photos taken during an explosion at an atomic bomb, you will find that the background is full of those threads. This is something people hadn't noticed before or were unaware of. The threads are thicker near the source of the explosion where the radioactive matter is more concentrated, while the threads far away from the explosion are too thin to be visible to the naked eye, but they still exist. The above description may be a little difficult to understand because it involves negative energy in its real sense, and there's almost no other source or case like this in our daily lives. Wow, this is amazing. From this point of view, you can see that the electricity generated by nuclear power plants does not come without an energetic debt that is seized by the surrounding environment through those invisible threads. Moreover, the disposal of nuclear waste from nuclear power plants is also a big problem. And some plants even dump the nuclear waste directly into the sea. I knew they were doing that. On May 6, 2017, when looking into the phenomenon of crop circles in the 737 case of Ling Pi, I was imparted more knowledge by the aliens about the working mechanism of nuclear matter. The impartation is as follows. The Earth is only a part of the universe. The aliens use to conduct nuclear experiments as well. Out of the concerns that their experiments might affect our planet, they would draw crop circles on Earth to inform the Earthlings in advance. Thus, the crop circles became their notice boards. The aliens' nuclear technologies are very advanced, thousands of times more advanced than that of the Earthlings, but a nuclear test is something rather unique and risky. They were concerned about the impact it might bring upon other planets. Even there's a 1/10,000th chance that something might go wrong. They ought to notify people on other planets in advance. Unlike the Earthlings who like to secretly engage in nuclear tests, the grave downside of this secrecy is that if two parties happen to conduct a nuclear test at the same time, resonance occurs and the Earth will be shattered by the resonance energy. Maybe that's what happened to Tiamat. Therefore, the aliens would always notify the Earth's people ahead of time. They would draw a picture like a rocket with a dual deployment system indicating that they were going to conduct a nuclear test. When the aliens conducted a nuclear test, the Earthlings were required to not conduct any nuclear test at the same time. They were afraid that it would cause resonance and a super explosion that could shatter the entire Earth or even the entire universe. Wow. But the people of the Earth are completely indifferent, going their own ways, and have never paid attention to the notices of the aliens, just like they are being blind and deaf. To say the Earthlings are deaf and blind, that's not the case either, because after all, they have attempted to launch the Space Shuttle Endeavour. The aliens didn't understand why the Earth people had no response to so many crop circles they had drawn, so they went ahead and drew an even bigger one that looked like a rocket with a triple deployment system and with greater power, stating that they wanted to conduct a nuclear test. The eagerness of the Earth people to conduct a nuclear test at all times and their zero response to the crop circles had made the aliens leery and dared not conduct any nuclear tests for the sake of caution. They feared that if the Earthlings ever conducted a nuclear test, simultaneously the resonance energy will devastate the entire universe. The universe is not void, and the space between the planets is full of matter, just too fine to be visible to human eyes, just as the space between two trees that is not empty but connected by soil and air. The same is true for the universe, and the space between celestial bodies is not empty. Humans have thrown too much space junk over the years, and the aliens have to constantly pick up the space junk discarded by Earthlings. So they came to the Earth and drew a cross inside a big circle to tell the Earthlings no litter of space junks in the universe. Yeah, that would be a good idea, and if those aliens want to, they could bring me a piece of that space junk so I could show it to the rest of my Earthling friends and tell them no more of this junk. I'll send it to Elon Musk. Aliens communicate telepathically. For years they had been receiving strong intention to conduct nuclear tests from North Korea's Kim Jong-un. They knew that he was the person on Earth who wanted to conduct nuclear tests most. They also knew that Kim Jong-un did not have any nuclear weapons at that time. If his intent didn't get cut off sooner or later, he would certainly bring about nuclear weapons. So Kim Jong-un made the aliens very nervous. As a result, they have not conducted any nuclear tests for many years, just in case a resonance could occur. From the aliens' perspective, Kim Jong-un was the toughest man on Earth because his intent to conduct nuclear tests was so strong that it had spread to the entire universe. The principle of aliens is not to use force, but we the people on Earth should unite and boycott Kim Jong-un's nuclear test, even if it is just a single idea. The entire universe can receive it. It is imperative to eliminate Kim Jong-un's idea of conducting nuclear tests and developing nuclear power. Humans have not mastered nuclear technologies, far from it, including the technology of nuclear power generation. The sun is an artificial nuclear powerhouse that did not exist in the beginning. It was a nuclear power plant built by aliens for people in the entire universe to use. Nuclear tests conducted on the Earth had caused damages to the sun due to resonance. The abnormalities of dark sunspots and solar storms were directly caused by nuclear tests conducted on the Earth. Oh my God. I wish I could tell Mr. MBB333 about this. The Earth people must carry out no more nuclear tests, so the aliens came and drew an enormous circle that represented the sun, an artificial nuclear power, and a series of smaller circles of various sizes arranged in a spiral pattern which represented all the planets in the galactic disk. This elaborate crop circle was used to warn humans that no more nuclear tests should be conducted further. Otherwise, grave consequences would be brought upon the sun and the entire universe. If mankind on Earth continues to conduct nuclear tests as he pleases, it may cause even more irregular activities of the sun. When the sun and the entire universe get affected, it won't be ruled out that the aliens will come and wipe out the whole of mankind from the surface of this Earth. This is what's presented in the 737th case of Ling Pai. It can be concluded from the above Ling Pai content that if a nuclear war ever breaks out on Earth, an attack by one side followed by the counterattack of the other side will trigger resonance and intensive explosion immediately, and the resonance energy will shatter the whole planet into pieces. It may also destroy the sun due to the resonance and bring about the devastation to the entire solar system and the Milky Way galaxy. People of the Earth will become sinners of the entire universe by developing nuclear power. Wow, it's about time we dropped that stuff like a hot potato. At 8:57 a.m., July 13, 2019, a 6th level magnitude earthquake occurred in the East China Sea at the depth of 230 kilometers. The cause of that was a helicopter that threw nuclear waste into the sea. The nuclear waste kept on sinking and encountered the waste that was thrown out previously. When the two met, a nuclear explosion happened. Then a flying saucer came and took away the nuclear matter. This is the 1596th case of Ling Pai. At 13:54 on November 17, 2021, a 5.2 magnitude earthquake occurred in the sea off Defeng District, Yancheng Jiangsu Province, China, at the depth of 17 kilometers. The cause of this was a flying saucer that was gathering nuclear waste in the sea, like pulling up a fishing net, in which a nuclear explosion occurred. This is the 4,193rd case of Ling Pai. Nuclear waste is as dangerous as ordinary nuclear matter, and when several small pieces of nuclear waste meet and get big enough in volume, an explosion will occur. Therefore, nuclear waste is also included in the removal project. When the aliens finish removing nuclear matter completely on this planet, radioactive pollutants that are scattered all over the place will no longer be connected to the nuclear matter by threads, therefore rendering them disabled and harmless, and the people of Earth will be safe. 14. Communication between aliens and Earthlings is difficult. No kidding. I would love to talk to them, but they've never, well, as far as I know, they've never tried to talk to me. I do have missing time around an UFO sighting. We can only see 4% of the world, and 96% is invisible to the human eyes. The invisible domain is called the Yang realm. Wait a minute. The visible domain is called the Yang realm, and the invisible domain is called the Yin realm, the underworld or the spirit world, and physicists call the invisible dark matter or dark energy. Sometimes the visible world is called the three-dimensional space, and the invisible world is called the fourth-dimensional space. Relatively speaking, aliens dwell in a high-dimensional space, and humans on Earth dwell in low-dimensional space. The higher dimensional beings can see and hear the lower dimensional beings, but conversely, the lower dimensional beings can't see or hear the higher dimensional beings. After humans and animals die, their souls continue to exist in higher dimensional space. Because they are from this world, their souls are aware of the living people's way of thinking and the languaging of this world. Aliens, on the other hand, have never lived with humans, so their thinking is very different. The way the Earth people do things is incomprehensible to the aliens, and communication with them is very difficult. People on the Earth can only see 4% of the world, which is rendering them deaf and blind. In their attempt to communicate with aliens or humans, aliens have made many crop circles on Earth to inform humans about what will come up in the future, but people on Earth can barely understand them. Wow, yeah, we have trouble with language barriers, let alone dimensional barriers. Aliens communicate by thoughts or telepathically. For example, Kim Jong-un had always wanted to do nuclear tests, and this strong desire was sensed by the aliens. From their point of view, Kim Jong-un had already done the nuclear test, and he was the person on Earth who wanted to do nuclear tests the most. On the other hand, however, if somebody carried 2 sharp knives in each hand and passed through a crowd and accidentally injured some people with the knives along the way, and a few of them died because that person had no intention to kill people in his mind, the aliens would not think that he had killed those people. The vast majority of human diseases are caused by higher dimensional entities that are affecting people. Western medicine has never considered this factor. Therefore, it has been incapable of curing the majority of diseases. It only deals with the symptoms instead of the causes. Because the cause of the disease still exists, the disease cannot be cured. Many people's cognition still dwells on the presumption that extraterrestrial civilization is also based on water and keeps on using water as a search criterion. Some people even think that the Earth civilization is the most advanced in the universe, so when finding no water on other planets, they mistakenly thought that single-celled lower life forms had not evolved yet on these planets. They are unaware that the aliens do not eat or drink and that they use solar energy directly. Aliens can always exist in the soul form, and the soul is immortal. That is to say, the aliens are of immortality. The souls of the Earth people are also immortal. It is just that the Earth people alternate between soul form and physical form. only flesh dies away. The soul will live on forever, and it can come back to physicality with a new body through reincarnation. If an alien being wants to be born on the earth, he needs to incarnate in the body of an earth person, but he is still of an alien soul. As I mentioned earlier, the cycle of human civilization on earth has been 4,800 years for eons. They have always ended up with nuclear explosions, and everybody got killed in the end. Aliens would then send embryos to the earth to start it all over again. How stupid is that? We keep wiping ourselves out. Oh my God. Okay, the mystery of the Sphinx gets solved right here. The Great Sphinx of Giza in Egypt was a device built by the aliens to monitor the concentration of nuclear matter on this planet. When the contaminated dust floated into the mouth of the Sphinx, the time-space tunnel built inside would send the dust to the alien planet, and aliens were able to learn about the concentration of nuclear matter on Earth. Some time had passed due to the very high concentration of nuclear matter on Earth. This device was damaged and lost its function 4,600 years ago. From then on, the aliens could not automatically obtain data on the concentration of nuclear matter on the Earth through this device, and they needed someone to stay here to manually monitor and transmit the data to the alien planet. Wow. 4,600 years ago, after I transported embryos to the Earth along with my alien colleagues, I volunteered to stay behind, quietly planning to solve the nuclear problems that had been haunting this planet for eons. I then got reincarnated constantly over and over again. 4,600 years have passed in this current cycle. If humanity fails to remove all nuclear matter from the planet, mankind will disappear on Earth once again within 200 years. Not long ago, a spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of a major country still threatened to use nuclear weapons. Therefore, it is urgent to have all nuclear matter removed from the Earth. People are very ignorant in the way that they do genetic research. Based upon the current situation, even if all nuclear matter gets taken away, people would still die out in large numbers, like the casualties in swine flu and bird flu due to humans' reckless fiddling with genes. The high lethal rate in swine flu and bird flu is because these factory farm animals are fed genetically modified food in which the unintegrated tiny slices of genes have gotten attached to the animal's chromosomes and thus changed the chromosome structure and function. I discovered this in Ling Pai 10 years ago, and I had talked about this issue in 3 books I published 10 years ago. My Ling Pai research was hugely misunderstood, and I was discredited and smeared by Wang Rizhang, a reporter from the Southern Metropolis Daily in Guangzhou, China. As a result, 12 members of my Ling Pai team were put to a detention center. I was detained in Shenzhen Nanshan Detention Center from April 15, 2013 to June 14, 2014. Excuse me. During that time, all research activity stopped. I had been transmitting messages for aliens up to that point. All of a sudden I stopped, and there had been no transmission for days. When the aliens found out that I had been put to the detention center, they followed me there to let me know that they were watching over me by my side. The aliens would rub my eyeballs. On the day of the court hearing, they took away a piece of my tooth. Sorry, I laughed about that. And a piece of my wife's tooth of the same position was also taken away while she was seated at the court. So we both lost a piece of our tooth of the same position that day. This is the way that aliens communicate with humans. They rub your eyeballs and take your teeth? Oh my goodness. Is that why my tooth cracked? Because the concentration of nuclear pollutants in the air on Earth is much higher than that of other planets. The aliens have been washing my body every 4 hours from the high dimension since my early childhood. As the water takes away my body heat, I have always felt cold and I always wear more clothes than others. When I was in the detention center, the cell I was in had 2-story-high walls, and there was a window on each side of the wall near the ceiling, but without glasses, and winter's cold wind poured in. I was so cold that I had to put on clothing that I borrowed from 6 other inmates who were young and not as afraid of the cold. I went months without taking a shower, but because aliens showered me from the high-dimensional space, it didn't seem to be a problem. For the same reason, I don't ever get dehydrated. I don't need extra water almost all year round, even if I am in the desert of California. Moreover, my skin is very tender and easily gets bruised on a daily basis. I have to wear gloves when work gets even a little heavier. These characteristics are all related to the fact that aliens wash my body regularly. Inmates in the detention center mistakenly thought I had martial arts. Someone was involved in a fight and was going to crash on me, but seconds before he bumped into me, an alien being threw him out and he landed heavily on the ground. The bystanders thought I was the one who beat him out, but in fact I was just standing and having a meal with a rice bowl in one hand and a spoon in the other. It was impossible for me to throw him heavily into a pool of water on the concrete ground. There's another time when an inmate in the detention center wanted to approach me and mock me. The alien being gave him an instant headache. He was someone in his 20s, and the next day his hair turned all gray. You know, they could send me one of those alien bodyguards. I'll have some of that. Crop circle has been one of the ways that aliens use to transmit messages to the people on Earth, but because people cannot understand the crop circles, the purpose of imparting information has not been achieved. On July 5th, 2021, the aliens made a very simple crop circle in Wiltshire, England, with 2 concentric circles and a cross in the middle. They made it a test to see how long it would take for the text message to reach me. I received a notification about the crop circle and finished deciphering it within hours. This was the 3,721st case of Limpai. In the next few weeks, the aliens told the Earth people a few plans they had to once again prove their existence in the form of crop circles made in the UK. The crop circle of July 20th, 2021 indicated that 2 flying saucers might be used to pick up a mountain like a sandwich and move it to another place. This was an indication that they were considering moving mountains. The 3,872nd case of Limpai. The circle of August 1st, 2021 indicated the plan of shaking 2 buildings in 2 different places at the same time. The 3,912th case of Limpai. The crop circle of August 8, 2021 was a test of people's association between the crop circle and a flying saucer, and the result was very poor. The 3,942nd case of Limpai. The crop circle of August 11, 2021 was a test of people's engagement to the crop circle, and the result was very poor. 3,946 Limpai. On August 15, 2021, a flying saucer made a serrated crop circle and then watched for people's response quietly high above it, but hours had passed and people paid little interest in it. Being upset, the flying saucer dove down and burst out gushes of pressured air. Some dots appeared inside the circle, then it left. The 3,960th Limpai. Wow, must be frustrating. On August 6, 2021, I uploaded to my YouTube channel a computer-processed short video, only 7 seconds in length, that I got elsewhere, in which a big pile of swirling clouds was sucking up a stream of dust from the ground with loud noise as if there's a vacuum machine or blower inside the clouds. This video received more than 400,000 views in just a few days, which was a sharp contrast to the extremely low view counts of my Limpai videos on crop circles. Being upset by this, the aliens made a blower-like crop circle 3,988th Ling Pai on August 25th, 2021, and told the people on Earth that if that's what we want, we should pay attention to them because their flying saucers can make the most powerful blowers we can ever imagine. From then on, people in the UK haven't seen any new crop circles yet. The aliens have finally stopped using crop circles as a way of transmitting messages and started using Kuwei's Ling Pai for imparting information directly. That sounds sensible. Working together, they would make people believe their existence by moving the Himalayan mountains to the Pacific Ocean to build the ET base island. On November 13th, 2021, my lower tooth, which is the second to the middle on the right side, had severe pain, too painful to touch, and Ling Pai had turned out that the aliens were preparing to move the Himalayas with cables. The pain was equivalent to the stress excreted on the towers of the cable-stayed bridge. The weight was extremely heavy. The spirit realm had passed on this message to me, and this is the 4,176 Ling Pai. After the message was let out, my tooth pain eased. Sounds painful. The next morning, my daughter said that she had a dream in which her lower tooth, that second to the middle on the right side, had fallen out and only a little nerve was connected. When she woke up, she thought she had lost the tooth, and a moment later confirmed that the tooth was still there. It's the same tooth as mine, which means that the aliens had passed on this message to my daughter at the same time. When I did Ling Pai my daughter, when she was a little girl, what was presented was all the things unknown to mankind and the atomic bombing of Japan in 1945. So why am I the chosen one to participate in the mountain moving project at this time? And why have they made me the owner of the island? Because it's my mission, and I've been preparing for this for 4,600 years in this cycle. The aliens started adding hydrogen to the sun on July 13, 2002, and at that time they had to carry out the project of relocating the planet. However, communication with the Earthlings had not been established until May 2017, when I finally made contact with them on this subject matter. Soon after the contact, the project started on June 3rd, 2017. On April 14th, 2020, during the third project of the sun, it was my idea to use flying saucers rotating motion to cool down Earth that solved the issue at hand. Many people don't think that there are aliens, while some people think that aliens are perfect and omnipotent. That's not the case. For example, when they built the sun 3.7 billion years ago, not until after they finished transporting hydrogen to the center of the universe, did they realize that they had added too much hydrogen to the sun. Maybe people don't believe that aliens would make such an inferior mistake, but that's indeed what had happened. Sounds like the Keystone Cops. When hydrogen was sent to the center of the universe, it got sucked in as soon as it was released from the flying saucers. They later realized that they had added too much hydrogen and could not take it out, so the ignition was delayed by 1 billion years. Wow, that must be a fun job, sitting around waiting that long. When they changed the ignition plan from central ignition to surface ignition, the explosion was still too violent. They had to cast a large number of meteorites to the sun to divide the space into smaller segments for the explosion to die down. Due to the communication barrier between aliens and Earthlings, many issues are stuck. Since I was originally alien and that I have been on Earth for 4,600 years, I know both worlds quite well. So the aliens like to come to me when they have something they don't understand and consult me to find solutions. What is Ling Pai, aka Soul Force Medical Show? It is a method or tool of communicating with the spirit world. Excuse me. Ling Pai is the process in which I read the spirit world archives, also known as Akashic records, or heavenly books, which is like watching a three-dimensional movie. Through this method, I can know anything that happens at any time and any place in the universe. I can know the past, the present, and the future. Of course, the future can be changed. Wow, I'm gonna take a break from reading this for now and finish it next time. Amazing. You can read this on your own if you'd like. And let me know what you guys think of this.